get ready to get sticky. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Corona Crush is creating Jewish couples always. Join the Facebook group. Just search Corona Crush and look out for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. They're 100% free and 100% Jewish. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sticky Situations. I'm your host, Rachel, which all of you already know because I'm unforgettable. Everyone, whatever platform you're listening on right now, go subscribe, follow, if it allows for it. Give us a 5-star rating, a glowing review. Go follow us on the socials. Follow Sticky Situations page on Facebook. Follow Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram. Follow Sticky Situations Pod on TikTok. And also go join the Corona Crush group. You heard my ads, but I post all my episodes there. All the links for all my applications are there, whether you want to come be a guest on my podcast, whether you want to date one of my guests on my podcast, or if you want to date me also, that there's an even application for that. But yeah, so go join the group, get all my information. The information's also on my social media pages that I just listed. Again, another plug if you would like to be a guest on my podcast. I'd love to have you. I love hearing everyone's dating stories. Any denomination of Judaism, more religious, less religious, anything. Come be on my podcast. I'd love to have you. The applications, again, you can find the link on my social media pages. You can find the link in my post in the Corona Crush group, or if you can't find it, just send me an email. You can either send me a DM at Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram or send me an email at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Well, now that business is taken care of, everyone, I have an extra special guest today. So please give a warm welcome to my friend Lindsay. Lindsay, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I am too. So, Lindsay, before we get right into your dating stories, I asked all my guests just to give my listeners a basic sense of who you're dating, what world you're in, and all of that. So, can you just tell me and my listeners your age, location, relationship status, and religious denomination?
Yeah, I'm 29. I live in New York City. I'm single and I grew up modern Orthodox, but now I would kind of just say I'm traditional.
Okay. So, a good sense of Lindsay's world. So, okay, so Lindsay, should we just like get
Yeah.
right into it? Do you
Yeah.
want to start off with your dating stories? I'm so excited to hear.
Yeah. Um I guess I don't date that often. But I feel like I've had some, some good, not great dates, but like good stories from dates.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been on a lot of first dates, I will say that. Most of my dates are first dates. Not a whole
I
lot
can
of
I can relate. I think a
yeah.
lot of my listeners can relate, and honestly, I think that's where our most entertaining stories come from.
Yeah.
Are the ones that we have and don't want to see again.
Yeah. That's fair. Honestly, most of them I wouldn't mind seeing again, but I kind of like leave it in their court if I'm not super dying to see them again. But, always leave that up to chance.
Yeah. No, I totally hear that. If you're like super neutral about someone, I do the same thing. If I'm like really neutral about someone, I'll
Yeah.
wait to hear from them.
Um, I don't know. Do you have any like questions?
Um,
Or just like tell a story?
just tell a story. Like
All
funny
right.
stories.
I mean, well, yeah, I could like start off strong and like tell you the worst date I've ever been on.
Sure. It's up this is your episode. So it's whenever you want to tell your stories, however you want to do it.
Okay. Well, I guess then the worst date I had ever been on was during the summer. It was the summer of COVID, August 2020. I had just come back to New York City from being with my parents for a few months. And I had been talking to somebody on like Hinge, and it was going well. We were like talking about books, getting along, and finally decided to meet in person. So he had biked all the way, like a really long way to come on this date with me. It was, I don't
Wow.
know, like a really long, a really long ride. Um, but the thing is, when we met in person, there was just like an instant, I don't want to say chemistry because it's like the opposite of that. It was like an instant knowing that, like, oh, this is just not going to work. Like, nothing against this person. I just kind of instantly knew that it was going to go nowhere. But it had come so far. So I kind of felt obligated to, go on the date and not like cut it short. I didn't want to be rude. So we go on this outdoor walk of Central Park because that's what one did in August of 2020. We stayed a few feet apart the whole time. Um, and we were just chatting, and he was like asking me about, my life, my like level of religion. Um, and it very quickly got to the point where he was asking me like, oh, what kind of things do you like to do on Shabbos? I said, hang out, maybe go to shul, read, whatever. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, and, I returned the question, what do you like to do on Shabbos? And he immediately informed me that he would just like to have sex, which is with his future wife on
The whole
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
The whole
The whole.
Shabbos, the whole time.
I mean, it is a mitzvah.
Yeah. But I don't know. The way he said it was like coming on real strong for a first date. I was like, there was also nothing else added to that. Like
Yeah.
it was
Also,
just
like, you
that.
were asking him what he does now. He doesn't have a wife.
Yeah. It was like a, yep. But I get it. Aspirations for the future. Um, I I hope he gets that. Just not with me. Uh, but it kind of just kept going downhill from there. Um, it got our conversation like turned political, and we had some. I don't have problems with people with opposing views. I just didn't really understand where he was coming from. He kept trying to equate the Black Lives Matter movement with like the congregations of Jewish people going to rabbis' funerals. And
Interesting.
my point is that's not the same. Um,
Yeah.
like that's just not the like same type of situation. And he very much couldn't see that they had differences. Um, forgetting how people even feel about each issue. He just couldn't even really separate the two, which I was starting to get kind of frustrated with. Um, and that's where I decided I kind of wanted to, shorten the walk a little bit. Um, and that's when it started to hail.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was a hailstorm in August on this date.
Wow.
So we were just kind of walking along, and I kind of wanted it to end, but I hadn't said anything yet. And then it started to hail, and we had to take shelter. And we just took shelter under this like random scaffolding with a bunch of other New Yorkers who were also taking shelter from the hailstorm. Um, it lasted a while. I made friends with some dogs.
At least there was a plus.
Waited it out. And when the hailstorm abated and we could go out, I kind of said, I needed to, go. I wanted to like move on with my day. I had some other things to do, like work I needed to get to. And he kind of responded, "Oh, I thought that we could watch the sunset together." Admittedly, that sounds very romantic, but it was hours away from sunset. It was a very, very long time. This was like midday. Um,
Yeah.
and sunset is late in the summer.
Yeah.
So I I felt bad, but I respectfully said no. I wasn't going to be able to, spend those hours in order to watch the sunset together. And he actually had to come back to my apartment because that is where he had put his bike um, while we were on our walk. So he had to come get his bike again before he left. Oh, and I actually did have to speak to him again because he had lent me a book on a first
Oh
date.
no.
I tried to get him not to. I was like, I don't know, like, oh, you forgot your book. I'll take it out from the library. It was something he was like recommending to me. Um, but I was like gently trying to get him not to leave this book with me. And he was not at all having it. So he left his book with me with instructions to get it back to him. And yeah.
It's weird that he left it with instructions because you would think the whole point of like leaving something is to see the other person again. And that's when the book would be returned. But like he left instructions.
No, I meant more like he said, "Oh, and like I will want it returned." I think he
Oh,
was banking on the fact that we would see each other again and I would return the book to him. Um, but he like it was more of like a reminder that like this is not for you to keep. I would like it returned at some point.
I
Which
would have
is
kept it.
tried to get him to take it with him at that time, but he wasn't doing that. So so the date ended. I still had this book, and I, said that I didn't really see it going anywhere, but I would like to return the book. Um,
Oh my
and he
gosh.
tried to orchestrate this like handoff because his sister apparently lives in my neighborhood and he wanted me to like meet his sister to give her the book to give to him. Um, and I said, I will just mail it to you. So that, so I mailed the book and that was that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. So wait, you mentioned that you were talking to him before.
Yeah, we were
Like you
like
had been
texting.
talking. Okay. So how long had you been texting?
Maybe few weeks, not that many.
So in that time, did you ever have like a phone call or like a video call?
No,
Okay.
just texts.
Do
It
you
was
think
the date was the first time we ever met, like in person, speaking anything.
that if you would have known also like from a call that he's not it?
Yeah, I think I would have. I think I would have known from having a speaking conversation with him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I like always have phone calls before dates, but there was a little while where I kept suggesting it. I was like, "Hey, before we go out, do you want to just like have a phone call? FaceTime, whatever." Um, and it was kind of dual purpose. It was like partly because you didn't want to like test for COVID in order to see somebody for a first date unless you were sure you liked them. And also just to like kind of make sure that there wasn't this instant anti-chemistry.
I like that anti-chemistry. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do that even now. Like, I don't know. I feel like I've just had so many scenarios where I've gone on a first date and I'm like, no. Like from the first second, like you're describing the anti-chemistry.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I always try to do like a phone or video call, like especially maybe not if it's like a setup through
Yeah.
friends. Like then I'll maybe trust my friends a little bit, but like still a phone call is nice. Um, but
I
yeah.
definitely prefer it if the person's far away also. Because if you have to go far for the date, that it's
Oh yeah. You don't make them come to you. I make them come to me.
annoying. I'll travel. I don't mind that. I'll travel a bit, just not a crazy amount.
I'll travel if they take me out by work right after work.
Ugh. I once had a date set up in like a very inconvenient location, but it wasn't so inconvenient for my work. So I like tried to arrange it so that it was right after work, but they like it like didn't work out for them, so it had to be way later. So I was like hanging around for a few hours. It's like it was, too inconvenient to first go home and then go back. So I like
Yeah.
down to Starbucks to like change out of my work clothes and like put a little makeup on before heading on over.
Yeah, I mean, granted, like I live in the city and I work in the city. So, I mean, in different neighborhoods, and I've always worked in the city, except I used to have clients like out of the city. I would have never met a date like by the client office though. Um, not meaning not in the city. Like for me, it was so annoying to get to my non-city clients that I'm like, I would never like make myself be there longer and not get home on work's time. Um, but yeah, I've done that before. I've done the whole usually I do it at the office. Like I'll just like hang out a little longer, bring a change of clothes, bring some makeup. One time I brought I think I brought it was either curling iron or straightener, I can't remember. And like one of my coworkers walks in while I'm doing my hair and she's like, "Do you have a date tonight?" And I'm like, "Yep." Good times, good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. For me, I'm a preschool teacher. So if I have like a date soon after work, I need a whole new outfit change because there is
Oh, yeah.
absolutely no way I'm going to come out of the day without like marker or glue or paint or glitter. Even though I never use glitter, it somehow always still gets on you. Uh, so you need a whole outfit change after after a preschool day.
Yeah, for sure. I used to have a roommate who was a preschool teacher. She would come home and immediately shower. She's like,
Yeah,
I have like, I don't even, she couldn't even like describe everything that was in her hair from that day, like what the kids
all the
did,
germs, all the
everything.
germs. I used to come home just like constantly with stickers in my hair because I didn't know that they were like just putting stickers on the back of my head. And I would like take a shower and be like, oh, look, there's another sticker that has been on me all day in my hair
Oh my
as I'm just
gosh.
walking around minding my own business.
Oh my gosh. The children. I'm sure that would be an interesting like way to show up to a date with stickers on the
With
back of your head.
stickers on the back of my head.
Yeah, I wonder what your date would say about that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay. Do you want to share another story?
Um, sure. I also went on a date with somebody. Oh, okay. There was once somebody that, again, I had been like texting on Hinge and we were like trying to schedule this date. Um, and just like his schedule, my schedule were difficult. And I like finally we like made a plan. And like the day of the plan, I realized that it was, I mean, look, this is not like it was like a night that I went to watch like a TV show with some of my friends. And it's
Oh,
not like
those are important. Those are important. Don't discount it. It's important.
it was like a pretty easily missable thing though.
Was it
So at
Bachelor
first I
Monday?
was like, should I, cancel the date? And then I was like, no, you know what? I'm just gonna, we had a tough enough time scheduling it. I'm just gonna um go. But I guess I had mentioned it to him because he got very like helpful. He was like, I we could watch the show together if that's something you want to do. It was so sweet.
That's really sweet.
It was really, really nice. I was like, oh, it's on cable. Like, I don't have cable. It's also like, I don't, like, it's fine. I'm not that invested. It's, let's like go do what we're going to do. He's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll bring a TV. I'm like, what?
What?
He's like, yeah, I'm driving. I'll just bring a TV. I have cable. I'm like, I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah,
Um,
where are you gonna watch it? In the car?
I
On the
don't
TV?
know.
Also, like cell phones. You
Yeah,
could you
I
could watch it
don't,
on a phone or a laptop or an iPad. Like
so
what
many other
there's
options.
so many options aside from a
Yeah.
TV.
But it was it was a very sweet offer. I
Yeah.
did not take him up on it because that would have been utterly ridiculous.
Mhm.
Um, but it was very nice.
No, that's so
It was a nice
sweet.
gesture.
I don't know. I used to Bachelor Mondays were very religious for me in my life.
Hmm.
And like any guy I talked to knew that like Bachelor Mondays were Bachelor Mondays. But like and again, kind of like in your situation, Bachelor Mondays were a show what that night of the week was a night that I watched the show with my friends.
Hmm.
And I tried not to make other plans because like it's Bachelor Monday.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to watch with my friends. But I had a few guys and like back in the day, my roommates would also well actually sometimes my roommates now watch. But back in the day, my roommates used to watch too. So like even if I had no friends coming over, I would watch with my roommates. So I would tell guys this, and most of them thought it was like cute and funny and like whatever. Like nobody really cared. One
Yeah.
time I it might not have I think maybe it was not a Monday night and I didn't realize when I scheduled the date. But again, like I like doing it, but it wasn't that big of a deal that like I accidentally scheduled a date because The
Yeah.
Bachelor was on an off night. But it was funny because I was like, I went on this date and I was with the guy, and like generally when I go on a date, I put my phone away.
Hmm.
I just think that's like a respect thing to do.
Oh, totally.
I'll take it out like if I go to the bathroom, shoot my friends a text like how it's going, or if he goes to the bathroom, like that's when phone time is like that's phone time during a date. And
Yeah,
then whenever everyone's back, like phone goes away. So I
that's fair.
remember it was like the end of the date and I was taking out my phone and getting ready to go home. And I was like, I mentioned something to him like, oh my gosh, like I have so many texts about The Bachelor. And like most guys would think it was funny. He was like horrified.
Oh,
And I was like, wait, that's a red flag. He was like
yeah.
horrified. I was like, oh yeah, I missed the Bachelor tonight, like to spend time with you. I don't know. It wasn't even a first date. Um, and I was like, yeah, I missed The Bachelor because we already had a plan and I didn't realize it was on a different night. And he was like so like weirded out by the fact that all my friends were texting me about The Bachelor and my mom. Like, I think I got my mom into it that I was like home for part of the season. So like I got her into it. So she was watching. And I was like, yeah, my mom's texting me about The Bachelor. And he just like got all weird about it. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
what's wrong with you? Like, you should
I
be
don't know.
thanking me. I just
I
gave up
feel
my
like,
bachelor night for you.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like the people who get weirded out by like people who watch The Bachelor just don't get that it's a social thing.
Yeah.
It's a social activity.
Yeah.
It's a
And like
weekly plan with your friends.
he knew I watched it. I was just very taken aback by how taken aback he was. I'm like, I'm not mad that I hung out with you instead of like watch The
Yeah.
Bachelor. But maybe I should have just watched The Bachelor instead. He definitely wasn't worth missing Bachelor Monday for.
Is that the barometer? Is he worth missing Bachelor Monday for?
Actually, yeah. When I'm like going out with a guy and scheduling a date, it's a little different now because The Bachelor is so bad these days.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, I rarely watch it live anyways, unless my friends are getting together, but I don't like carve out that time of my week anymore.
Right.
But when I did, that was my barometer. It's like, would I rather spend time with him or would I rather watch The Bachelor with my friends? And like, even when I had a boyfriend, like, he always encouraged me. He's like, no, go watch with your friends. We'll go out Wednesday night. Like, he's like, we don't have to. I think when I was dating him, it was on 2 nights a week also.
Mm.
So it was like
Oh, that's a
Monday and, yeah, it was Monday and Tuesday. He's
big
like,
commitment.
I know. It really was. I'm crazy. He's like, no, we'll go out on Wednesday. Go hang out with your friends, watch your show, have fun. Like, occasionally I did see him those nights. It's not like that whole summer I didn't see him
Yeah,
those nights, but I don't know. Like, get you someone who respects your like TV nights with your friends, or will
absolutely.
join, or will
Yeah.
bring a TV to you. I like that. I think that guy's a winner, even if it didn't work out. He's a good dude.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work out in the end, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Just offering
That
to
was
bring
that
the
was on a
entire
first date.
TV over. Yeah, that was on a first date.
So, did you go on more than one date with him?
Um, no.
Okay.
We actually I think had started to like schedule another date and then it just like fell apart.
Ah, yeah, one of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, it's
It's
okay.
okay. Okay. So, maybe this is a good time to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. So we'll be right back, everybody. Don't fear. We'll be right back. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Are you tired of swiping on dating apps? Tired of guessing whether the cute guy or girl you keep seeing around is Jewish and or single? Then you need to run, not walk to join Corona Crush. Corona Crush is a Jewish organization working to create Jewish couples always. Corona Crush has over 30 confirmed engagements, over 22,000 members from all over the world, and has set up over 50,000 speed dates. Join the Corona Crush Facebook group and post yourself or have a friend post you and see who reaches out. Fill out the survey to sign up for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. Corona Crush is 100% free and 100% Jewish. Worst case, you end up with some stories of your own. Best case, you find the love of your life. Try it out today. Here on Sticky Situations, we tend to focus on bad dating stories, but sometimes dates do go well and lead to proposals and weddings. Who would have thought? And what do all of those require, you might be asking? Well, the answer is flowers. Who doesn't want flowers from someone they've been seeing? Don't forget, flower petals and bouquets needed for proposals. And that's even before all the flowers that go into weddings. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Primrose Flower Shop. In my opinion, Primrose is the coolest flower shop around and has the best customer service to fulfill all of your floral needs. Primrose offers a range of services from your basic bouquets to subscription services where you can get flowers delivered once a week. They deliver all over the tri state area, including Manhattan. Primrose does weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and other simchas. I've personally been to a wedding where Primrose did the flowers, and the work they did was beyond gorgeous. Primrose additionally offers in store proposals, including a romantic setup with candles and music. Primrose is located at 2922 Avenue M in Brooklyn, and the phone number is 929 376 9815. You can also follow Primrose on Instagram at PrimroseNY. So, if you can't get someone out of your head, buy them some flowers from Primrose. They'll either love it or they'll find you really creepy. But regardless, the flowers will be out of this world. We're back, everybody. Okay, so one of the reasons why I invited Lindsay on the podcast, well, number one, and I'm not saying this to say that my podcast guests who I've had on and have on aren't special, because everyone is, because it's so much fun having people come on. It's so much fun doing the podcast with everyone. It's also like a fun way that I meet people and like get to know people from around. Like, but honestly, like I met Lindsay at a birthday party and I was like, hey, you want to come be on my podcast? Like, I think that was one of the first things I said to her. And she's like, sure.
Yeah, I think it was.
Lindsay's like, I was not drunk in the slightest because like I don't even think I drank that night. But
Yeah, me neither.
but um but I was just, it was late, and when it gets late I get crazy, so like extra crazy. But as I was like talking to Lindsay more, probably after I already asked her to be on the podcast, she was telling me a little bit more about herself. And I think she has a very unique perspective, especially when it comes to like Jewish dating and amongst some of my other podcast guests, because Lindsay dates both men and women. So I thought that would be even more interesting for her to come on and like talk a little bit about that and her experiences.
Yeah. Um, I will definitely say that it feels very different to like going on a date with a man versus going on a date with a woman. For me specifically, feels very, very different. I feel like I get way more kind of like a little bit on a deeper level emotionally on a date with women, whereas with guys, it's more still like I mean, it's still like fun and like light on both ends, but I think I tend to get way more emotional when I'm out with other women. um, yeah, but honestly, just like the like meeting people is also weird. It's like hard. Um, I like don't really have a big queer community that I'm involved in where I live. So I turn to like Hinge mainly. Um, and for a little while, I was also on J Swipe. Immediately got off. I strongly dislike J Swipe for both men and women for different reasons. Actually, kind of for the same reason. I just feel like it's very similar people. Um, but I basically Hinge was doing this thing where it was only ever matching me up with women who were like adamantly atheist. And I'm like it's I would like somebody who has some sort of semblance of religion in their lives. Like I love taking part in like Judaism and the traditions that I have, and I don't need to be with somebody who's going to resent it.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried J Swipe just for women because I strongly dislike J Swipe for men. And as it turns out, I also dislike J Swipe for women. Um, I don't know. I think the people that I was meeting just didn't like personally didn't have a lot in common with me. Like I didn't find a lot of common ground with them. So I'm still kind of in that weird limbo where like the women I'm meeting on Hinge, I think I get along with a lot better, but most of them are weirdly atheist. Except for the few who I've matched with, and then I just thought they were so cool and ghosted them out of anxiety. Just pure anxiety. I think they're too cool. I stopped talking to them. And that's not a great way to get a date. So I'm doing real well there.
Oh, so is that why all these guys are ghosting me?
Yeah, exactly. It's because we're too cool.
I'm just kidding. Not that many guys ghost me because, well, number one, usually I get bored with the conversation.
Mm.
And number two, I will call him out if he ghosts me. So,
Oh, interesting. I kind of just
yeah,
let it be.
I learned a new method. This is if someone ghosts you and you either are still interested in talking to them or you're just interested in making them feel like a jerk. Um, my neighbor came over. It was like one Shabbat afternoon. It was perfect timing on her end because it was a rainy Shabbat. It was recently. Um, and Shabbat's getting later and later and later. And I'd already come home, already taken a nap, and I was reading on the couch. And I think there was like half an hour left of Shabbat. And I was like, it was that time where I'm like, I'm tired of reading, but I'm not going to go back and take a nap. anymore, but I'm also so bored. And I just hear a knock at the door, and I'm like, who is at my door right now? And it was my neighbor, and she's like, can I could just come hang out? I'm having probably boy problems. And I was like, yes, please come in, hang out, tell me your problems. I'm so bored. Just please entertain me. So she was telling me she this guy who she had been seeing wasn't responding to her since like this was Saturday, so he hadn't been responding to her since like Tuesday, I think, maybe even earlier. And she's like, it's so weird. Like, we literally like talked about making plans over the weekend, and I haven't heard from him. And
Wow.
like, they were only like casually seeing each other. It wasn't like they were dating. But still, she's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, if he doesn't want to see me, but it's just like weird that he's not answering me. So she's like, you know what I'm going to do? She calls it a concerned, kindly reply.
Mhm.
She's like, this is what we use at work when we have people who are unresponsive, and it works like a charm every time. So I'm going to use it on this guy.
I love that.
So she sends him a message. I can't remember everything she said, but at the end she's like, but yeah, it's really strange that I haven't heard from you, all this and that. Like, is everything okay? And mind you, I am the queen of just like letting men have it. Or anyone, but like men, really men. I just unleash my any anger that I'm holding inside on these random boys from these random dating apps that decide to cross me on the wrong day. And you know what? He replied to her within a few minutes. Like
Wow.
within like 5 to 10 minutes, he replied. So I was like, wow. Okay, I'm going to take note for the future. Like I love yelling at guys, but maybe this is the better route. Make them feel like a jerk. Have them answer, even if the answer is that they are ghosting you, then you could yell at them. So I was talking to this guy, and for many reasons, it was just like I never thought it was going to be a real thing, but I was enjoying the conversation. He lives very far away. Um, but I was enjoying talking to him. We had like great banter, and it was like kind of what I needed. Like, I'm like, okay, this is no commitment because he's so far away. It's not like we're going on a date.
Mhm.
But also at the same time, it's like fun, flirty banter. And he's like fun to talk to. And then out of nowhere, he just like stops responding to me for like a few days. And like you guys know my rule. I tell on the podcast I have a 48-hour rule. After if I don't hear from a guy for 48 hours, he's dead to me. You could be revived like if you like tell me you were like in the hospital or something like crazy happened or your phone broke or one of
Wow.
those stories that I may or may not believe. But
As a
like
really bad texter, I have to say 48 hours does not sound that long.
no, 48 hours. I'm talking about someone who like you're talking consistently.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I don't answer my friends for 48 hours, but like if I'm interested in a guy, it goes along with the theory of like if you're really interested in someone, you want to talk to them.
Mhm.
So like if a guy doesn't want to talk to me, it means he's not interested. And if he's not interested, then why am I interested? So he's dead to me. So I was like, okay, this guy is dead to me because it's already been 48 hours. But I also really, really want to try out this concerned kindly reply. Like I just want to see how it works. Like I just want to see. And like, you know what? If he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not interested," then I'll just be like, "Okay, like bye, whatever." Um so I sent him a message on the third day. And I was like, "Hey, like I know we haven't been talking long and like this isn't anything like I know exactly what this is and we haven't been talking so long, but like it's kind of weird because like we've talked so much that I haven't heard from you in a few days. Is everything okay?" Literally within 2 minutes, I had a voice note. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, all this." It was like all excuses. And I was like, "Oh my God, it works." Like, listen, I already, when I sit in my thoughts about a guy like that, and again, the 48-hour rule, he's not interested if he's not texting you within 48 hours. So, like, I'm not interested. So, I already lost a lot of my interest in him. Like, that excitement, like when you're texting someone and you're having
Yeah.
like banter and you see their name on your phone and you get all excited.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
feeling.
So like all of that was gone. But I
Yeah.
was like, I just want to see if this works. And it did. And then he texted me for a few days and then he went off the grid again. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm
Yeah.
done.
Okay.
Maybe he'll reach out again and then I'll just like be like, yeah, I'm done. But I'm not doing, you can only concern kindly reply once.
Yeah.
And I tried it and it works. So
Right.
the new telling guys off is making guys feel like jerks. Okay, sorry, that was a long tangent on my end.
No, it's good.
But okay, so do you have any stories from dating girls? Like any
Um,
interesting stories?
I feel like they're not as eventful. They're just like more run of the mill dates, not like kooky things have happened. Although there was a very long string of time where Hinge just kept setting me up with other teachers.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm like, you're not really getting the like Jewish thing, but like for some reason they're like, you want someone who does the exact same thing you do. So it kept setting me up with like teachers and people who work at the DOE. Um, my first date ever though with a girl, I could talk about that because
Sure.
that was I remember I was actually I was so nervous. And we like had met and I had only ever been out on dates with guys before. So like I like the way you dress, the way you go into it for me was just like slightly different than like how I would now get ready to go on a date with a woman. Um, but we met and it was really nice. It wasn't a great connection, but she it was definitely very nice and we just kind of spoke for a long time and actually she she was like asking me about like when I realized I was queer and like coming out and things like that. I like cried a little bit. I just felt like very emotional, like everything was coming out. Um and I was like trying so hard to hold it and I was like, do not cry on a first date. Don't do it. Like if there is one bar to cling onto, just don't cry on a first date. Um and I very nearly made it. But I did cry a little bit.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was good. It was all good. Um yeah, it just didn't work out for like personality wise. Um but it was really, really nice. And I'll still always remember that fondly, even though I feel like I was acting like a like a little fool. But it was
Did you
nice.
tell her that it was your first date with a woman?
Um I think I didn't want to. I think I said that, I was like kind of newly out and I hadn't been on so many dates with women, or maybe I said something like I intimated that it was like something kind of new for me, but not necessarily the first time.
Okay.
Just because I feel like there's a stigma, um, like when you're queer and like new to being queer, that people are like, especially when you're like, you know, bi like me or, whatever, um, that people tend to like either think you're like it's a phase or like you're not queer enough or like you're just putting it on. And I didn't really want to get caught up in all that.
Yeah. I totally hear. I mean, even heterosexual dating, like you never I remember some of my first, like I never want to tell a guy, like I feel like I didn't on my first date ever, like thinking way back to it. I didn't tell the guy it was my first date ever. Or trying to think of like other firsts.
I did. I mean,
But
mine
like
knew. Mine was my long distance boyfriend from camp. We didn't speak at all.
on the first date.
Yeah, we were like friends at camp, and then after camp we were pen pals, and he asked me out via AIM. And it was phrased as a hypothetical. He was like, "Hey, if I were to ask you out, what would you say?" And therein started a relationship.
Of course,
But our
of
first
course.
like date, like actually in person, my mom drove me to Philadelphia because that's where he lived, and I went to
Wow.
see his school play. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and then we went mini golfing and didn't talk the entire time. It was lovely. We had a great time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was cute.
That is cute and funny. So wait, did the relationship last past that?
Yeah, actually, I don't remember how long we were going out. I was like 14, but it was a good few months. We had a nice run of it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Listen,
that
some
14-year-old long distance relationship. It's good stuff.
well, at least it gives you good stories and fond memories.
Yeah, very fond memories. He was a very sweet guy.
Yeah. Okay, so can I just ask you a couple questions, like
Yeah,
differences
please.
between dating men and women? I had another friend on who is gay, a gay man.
Mhm.
So I asked, and before he came out, he dated women. So I would love a female's perspective. Also, like you're currently dating both. Like all of his stories about dating women were like, yeah, but like I wasn't actually attracted to them, whatever. So this is a
Yeah.
little bit different. Um, so I guess you mentioned that you like get ready for the date differently, you dress differently. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely put on like more makeup and like I always like try and look nice, like no matter who I'm going out with, but it's definitely a different outfit. Um, and if I'm going out, with a girl, I'll like do more minimal makeup. Um, Whereas maybe for a guy, I would like do more of a intentional look.
Mhm. Okay. And which do you prefer? Like, which look do you prefer?
I mean, I prefer the one that's less effort.
I hear. I hear.
But it's also nice to like, see yourself gussied up once in a while. Um, yeah, I don't mind both. I don't mind either. Uh, Even my like, I say more of a look. I don't have much of a makeup routine, so it just means like slightly more makeup than no makeup. You know,
I hear that
a
too.
little
I
bit.
also, I'm not a big
So,
makeup person.
yeah,
So for a date, I'll put on a little bit, but like not that
yeah.
much. Um, okay. And then also like the dynamics. Like I know we live in a world where some people are a little bit more traditional when it comes to like dating someone of the opposite gender. Like the man makes the first move, plans the date, pays for the date, things like that. And I know we're in 2023 and the women can easily ask a guy out, easily plan a date, easily pay for a
Yeah.
date. But I just am talking more on a societal level, especially within the Jewish community. Um, for when it comes to dating a woman
Mhm.
in general, like, do you make a first move or do you wait for her to make the first move? Or how does that how does that work?
So honestly, I've done it both ways, both for men and women. I've both been the one to be asked out and the one to do the asking out. Um, I for me, it's just like a general rule of thumb. I always offer to like pay for the date. So usually the men are like, no, no, don't worry, I got it. So I really haven't had to, I haven't been the one to pay on a date with a man, but with women, it's more of an even split, I would say. Like I've paid a decent amount of the time, and then sometimes they're like, no, don't worry, I've got it, which is also nice. Um, I feel like I'm usually the one to suggest the activity though. My I wanted to ask you this actually because like I have a
Okay.
go-to. Um I usually am like, let's get a drink because I feel like that could very easily either end or segue into dinner depending on how you're feeling. Do you have like a go-to first date activity?
Um, I don't like to plan dates.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair.
I'm just like, I just don't like choosing. I'm
Hmm.
just bad at like those mind like small decisions. If it of course like big life decisions I have full ability to make and the little life decisions I have full ability to make. But for me, I guess like I don't know. I consider myself a feminist. I'm all for women like doing the asking out, even like if they're dating men and all of that. But I also am attracted to a guy who's gonna pursue me and put in the effort.
Hmm.
Like a guy who puts an effort is so attractive to me. Like he's the one who pursues the date, so he asks me out. He's the one who plans the date. Um, he's the one who pays for the date. And like this is a first date. Obviously,
Hmm.
like once you get past a first date, maybe a second date, probably after a third date, I'm like, okay, like let me do something. Let me pick, let me pay, let me do something. Um, but I really like when he does. And but again, like what you're saying for a first date, like I don't need it so fancy. I just want to see that he put some thought into in consideration into it. Like he picks the bar and he picks
Yeah.
somewhere that's easy for me. Like is considerate of where I'm coming from and my timing. Like I'm not gonna go out with a guy who wants me to meet him downtown at like 9 p.m. Like that's on a Tuesday. Like that's
I
never
would.
gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. Ever. Like, first of all, 9 p.m. is very close to my bedtime. So like I'm not like starting a date at 9.
Mhm.
Um and like I prefer that he comes to my neighborhood or somewhere that's easy for me. Like again, I go to the office every day. So if he wants to come meet me near my office, like even if it's like a little bit like I could walk places from my office. My office is pretty easy to get like it's an area that's very easy to get around. So I wouldn't mind meeting him there. But again, like if he wants to meet by my office, like I want to meet him at like 6:30. Like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hang around the office all night.
Yeah.
Maybe like 7, like whatever. I can hang out a little while, like depending on where he's coming from. But I want someone who's like considerate of my time and considerate of me. And it's like, okay, I don't want to meet a guy somewhere where I'm gonna have to like then get myself home at a late hour. I don't New York City is not safe anymore. Like I
Yeah.
just so I don't know. I don't have a go-to. This is my
Okay.
roundabout saying like I like when a guy plans it, but also I don't know, I'm good with a drink. I'm good with a drink
Yeah.
close by, somewhere easy to get to. Again, it's something that like a drink can turn into a second drink or dinner or a walk or ice cream
Yeah.
or something else. But it could also be like, okay, like after like a half an hour or an hour, it's like, okay, bye. I never want to see you ever again.
Right. I'm very much a fan of dates that have like multiple points at which you could extend
Yeah.
or choose to like end, you know? Where it's
Yeah.
like natural and not awkward to be like, okay, well, it's been this length of time. I'm gonna go now. Bye.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. I like to normalize like getting ice cream on a first date. I think ice cream is fun.
Yeah,
Um
it is.
I think sometimes like I'm not like the biggest drinker. I'll have a drink or two if I'm with friends or I'm on a date, but like I'm not generally like drinking on a Tuesday. So like if he suggests ice cream instead, like I'm totally down for that.
Nice.
Like um and I have a bunch of friends who like aren't big drinkers either,
Yeah.
who like ice cream, or even if it's like a cute little first date. I had a guy once like plan an activity on a first date and it was
Oh,
very
what
cute.
activity?
What?
What activity?
So we went to like a mall like close by and he
Oh,
came up with a game and it was fun because it was like we well, honestly like the whole game in and itself took an hour, maybe even
mhm.
less. Also like by the time we both got off of work and could meet, the mall was going to close within like an hour and a half. So we only had that amount of time anyway there.
Right.
Which was totally fine because it's perfect. It's like, okay, we're playing this game. We're getting to know each other through the game. We're talking throughout the game. But at the same time, like if it wasn't going well, then we have topics of conversation, but then we can just leave at the end. It ended up being like the mall was like I had to take a train from my apartment to get there, but it could be walkable. So
Hmm.
he ended up like afterwards he walked me home and it was like maybe a 20 to 30 minute walk. So like it was nice. We like walked outside. Um and then we ended up sitting outside my building for a long time too, just talking. Like
Oh,
we were having
nice.
a nice time and then finally
Yeah.
he was like it's getting late. Like we should like and I was like, "Yeah, I need to go to sleep." Also like he had to get home. But
Yeah.
so like that was fun. It's not totally necessary. It showed me a lot. He got a lot of points because he put like a lot of thought into the date. Um, which I really liked. And we only ended up going on two dates, but even like the second date, he thought of something fun. And I liked that. It's totally unnecessary. Um, again, I'm happy with a guy who just like picks a bar in my area and is like considerate about it.
Hmm.
But I don't know. It there is something nice about someone who puts in thought and energy because I think if I were planning a date, I would probably put a little bit of thought in.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm trying to think of dates that I've planned because I really don't plan them. Um,
I'll admit I'm not a super creative date planner. Then
yeah,
again, I'm not like pulling out all the stops for first dates. Maybe if I was going
yeah,
on like, a bit more of a like third date or something, I would maybe try and plan something a bit more creative.
yeah. I mean, the dates that I've planned were more in relationships where there were things that I wanted to do, and I'm like, okay, let's make a date out of it. So, which were like cute things, like my
Yeah.
ex-boyfriend, like I really wanted to go to the pumpkin patch, so he took me to the pumpkin patch. Like that was a
Oh,
fun date. I did plan one date once, like years ago. Like it was a third date, or no, it was a second date, and the guy was like, "Okay, you plan it." He ended up paying for it, but like I planned it. It was actually
mhm.
pretty fun. I planned a good date. We went putt putting,
Oh,
and yeah, by like the pier, by Chelsea Pier, and then I don't know if the place still exists. There used to be a gelato place. It was probably like a 20-minute walk from where the putt-putt place was, so it was like a nice walk. And it was a gelato place where it was called Pop Bar, where it was like gelato and a popsicle, and they used to dip it in chocolate and toppings. It was just like a
that
fun,
sounds
like
good.
cute thing. Yeah, it was so good. It was like I went to college in the city, so like one of my friends found it when we were in college, so we used to like to go. And I was like, "Oh, it's not that far. Let's go there." So like that was
Nice.
fun. That I was
Yeah,
creative with that.
that's
But
cute.
yeah, I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask about date planning because I just even when it comes to like activities with my friends, I'm not the planner. I just hate planning.
Yeah, I get that. I'm kind of like that too. Like I am more than happy to go along with whatever the plan is. But once it starts to be something that requires like coordination with people, I tend to take the back seat.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm just like, let me know where to be and what time.
Exactly. That's like my line. I'm like, just tell me where and when.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll do the thing.
Yeah. And
Whatever
like
it
if I don't
is.
and I want to be in the position where like if they plan it and I just like don't want to, I can just dip. No one cares.
Yeah,
I don't have any responsibilities.
exactly.
But not that I do. I'm not a flaky person, so like that's very not often that I do that. But
Yeah.
I like the ability to. If I
Yeah.
like
It's
I don't
always an
know,
option.
like if they want to like go to Brooklyn and like I wake up and it's like pouring, it's like I really don't want to go to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So,
Look, if and yeah.
yeah.
I feel like plans should come with a built-in rain date.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But okay, so wait,
Yeah.
Lindsay, do you
Yes.
have any more dating stories that you would like to tell?
Um, I I think those are the ones I would like to share.
Okay. Do you have any other like insights or um discussion points that you would want to talk about from either perspective, dating in general, um, dating as queer, or dating as someone who's queer, or anything?
Um, well, I mean, I guess I could just talk to dating in general.
Okay.
Um, Not that I'm like an expert on any of this
None of us are.
from the multitudes of only first dates I go on. Um, but I guess I would just say, I don't know. I feel like people tend to get very nervous to like do something that's not in their like box. Like I definitely know people who are like, I would never go out with somebody who's like shorter, younger, of a different like religious level than they are. Um and I really do think it's to their detriment. I would just say I think people should, I don't know, be a little more open. Like I get that everybody has something specific that they're looking for, but if the search is like so narrow, you could even be like jumping the gun and be closed minded to, people that you really might match well with.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
agree.
That's just my point of view.
I try to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
I think people who are like too narrow, I mean, granted, like you said, we all have certain things that we are looking for, and we all have our deal breakers,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just will never understand the people who are so picky. And it's funny because the show we're recording today, the the new Netflix show Jewish Matchmaking came out, and
Oh, yes.
everyone stay tuned because I will be discussing it on the podcast on a later episode. So don't worry everybody, that's coming. I only watched the first episode so far. I watched it during my lunch break today.
Ooh.
And the people on the show are so, at least in the first episode, are just so picky. And it's like they have such like picky requirements. And I'm like, okay, like I don't really want to watch this. I want to see people like be more open-minded. And like I was wondering why the matchmaker didn't like yell at them. I'm like, matchmakers yell at me if I say anything remotely close to being picky. Like, why isn't she yelling at them?
Yeah.
So no, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I guess we should move into our closing segments.
All right.
Except was that your piece of relate of dating advice, or
Oh,
do you have another
um,
piece of dating
no,
advice?
I have more advice. Yes,
Okay.
everyone should listen to me and take my advice and do what I say. I'll be here to just dispense advice at will. So
Okay.
now, should I say my advice?
Yeah, Lindsay, please share with me and my listeners one, I mean, aside from all the advice we've given throughout the episode, one piece of dating advice.
I think that uh Well, I think people tend to get very, like, nervous to go on first dates. Meeting people for the first time is very nerve-wracking, and I think people are afraid that that affects, the way they behave. I know that I personally, when I get nervous, I feel like I get very giddy, and I'm like, "Oh, no, what if they think, like, that's my personality?" Um, my advice is even if, you do get that way, don't take it too much to heart because your real personality will shine through. And if it's a good date, you'll relax into it and they'll get to see the real you. But if you're nervous the whole time, maybe it's a sign that it's not the right match, that maybe it's not the right person. So I guess my advice is uh, don't put down your nerves, kind of let them guide you.
I like it. I like it. It makes sense to me. I like it.
Thanks. Made
Okay.
sense in my head.
I think it makes sense.
Thanks.
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Sticky Situation Nation, you'll catch me next time. Bye, everybody.